Hi, everyone. So I'm Madi Jacobs. I was a country doc for 30 years who basically had firsthand experience of moral injury as a provider and have fought, often hopelessly, to get basic health care for my loved ones. I'm going to be introducing a video of Les Leopold. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he did send me a brief bio, so I will read that to you. I had the pleasure of meeting him in 2017 in New York City at a Healthcare Now conference and read his book, Runaway Inequality, one of which is in a raffle prize. So after graduating from Oberlin College and Princeton University School of Public Health and International Affairs, he co-founded and currently directs the Labor Institute, a nonprofit organization that designs research and educational programs on occupational safety and health, the environment, and economics for unions, workers, centers, and community organizations. In addition to Wall Street's War on Workers, he is the author of Defiant German, Defiant Jew, Runaway Inequality, How to Make $1 Million in an Hour, Why Financial Elites Get Away with Siphoning Off America's Wealth, and The Looting of America, How Wall Street's Game of Fantasy Finance Destroys Our Jobs, Pensions, and Prosperity, and What We Can Do About It. He also has a really good weekly Substack, and if you're interested, I can give you that link. So, thank you.
Hello, my name's Les Leopold. I'm the executive director of the Labor Institute, and I write books. My latest one is Wall Street's War on Workers. And thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you via Zoom. I wish I were there live. I would like to tackle a difficult problem today, which is why the richest country in the history of the world does not have Medicare for all. I mean, it's crazy. And I want to get there by having you look at the problem of inequality and the problem of job insecurity, which has grown incredibly severe in the United States. So I'm going to take you through a PowerPoint, and I hope it sheds some light on the problem. And I have some suggestions about what could be done about it. So let me see if I can share my screen and get going on this. All right. Okay, so let's look at the impact of runaway inequality and job insecurity on Medicare for all. Why don't we have Medicare for all? That's the topic, and I'm going to get to it by going through a few steps. First, I want to show how severe is runaway inequality in the country. How has it changed over time? Secondly, I want to look at some of the major causes. I can't do it justice in our short presentation, but if you're interested, that's what the book is about, Wall Street's War on Workers. Third, I want to look at the impact of runaway inequality on working people. Then we want to look at the impact of that on politics. And finally, we want to look at some of the things that could be done about it. So let's begin with getting a vision of how severe inequality is today and how it's changed over time. But let's start in 1970. This is the ratio of the top 100 CEOs' pay, total compensation to the average worker. And you can see in 1970, it was pretty large, 45 to 1. Think about it this way. If an average worker could afford a home, that means a top 100 CEO could afford 45 homes. To me, that's pretty severe inequality, but it's gotten absurd since then. By 1980, it was 127 to 1. 1990, 326 to 1. 2010, 726 to 1. But between 2013 and 2022, it jumped to 874 to 1. Now, I can't wrap my mind around that. One car for us and 874 for them. So that's severe inequality. No matter what you hear this stuff about, oh, the average wage has been going up. It's just not true. The real buying power for 80% of working people has stayed flat or gone down since the late 1970s. So inequality is incredibly severe. So I just want to give you a glimpse of why. And one way to view the why is to look at what happened to CEOs' form of compensation. It used to be that CEOs got like 95% of their pay in salary and bonuses, and then they got a few stocks to go with it, stock options. But this has changed dramatically. As of 2018, salary and bonuses accounted for 15%, only 15%, and the rest were stock incentives, 85%. So if you're getting paid mostly with stock incentives, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to do everything possible to raise the price of the stock. And the simplest way to do that is to squeeze your company and take the cash, go into the stock market, buy back the company's shares, and basically manipulate its price so it goes up. That's called a stock buyback. And uh, Wall Street was very tightly regulated before, pretty much before the Reagan administration. And deregulation came in and changed this whole stock buyback game. In 1981, only 2% of corporate profits were permitted to go to buy back the company's own shares. Why? Because they considered this stock manipulation. And markets were supposed to work without manipulation. There's supposed to be markets that set prices for the people that buy things, not manipulated to raise the price artificially. Today, after 50 years of Wall Street deregulation, stock buybacks are enormous. By 2018, 68%, 68 cents of every dollar of corporate profits went to stock repurchases. This year alone, it's going to be over $1 trillion of money that formerly was invested in the company, in health and safety, in workers' wages, is now being sucked out, siphoned out, and gone into the stock market to raise its price. The pressure to do this comes not just from the CEOs, but come from primarily from these large institutional investors, hedge funds, private equity companies, large banks, investment banks. This is the best way that they feel that they can increase their revenues, their profits. So they pressure for stock buybacks. And the companies then do the following to try to squeeze the company to get that money. Uh, uh, Before deregulation, all this was frowned upon. And then now it's become natural. Everyone thinks this is the way you're supposed to be a CEO. You downsize as much as possible. Uh, you lay off people as much as possible. And you can see this from Elon Musk when he bought Twitter, laid off half the people. Why? Well, he had to borrow a lot of money to buy Twitter. The debt service jumped from 50 million a year to 2 billion. So he wants more revenue to pay back the debt. And other companies do this to get money to do stock repurchases. You ship production abroad. If I had time, I could give you many examples like Carrier Air Conditioning, where the only reason they were moving the jobs to Mexico in 2017 was to fulfill a pledge to do more stock buybacks because 50 different hedge funds had taken a position in the parent company, United Technologies, and pressured for a $5 billion stock buyback. So that's another thing they do. They sell off product lines and divisions, of course, that gets you cash. They speed up the production process, which is very difficult for workers, but that leads to more cash. They often raid the pension funds or they discontinue them, force everybody into IRAs. That frees up more cash. They can cut wages and benefits, which goes on all the time. And the whole philosophy of the company changes from what was called retain and reinvest. You take corporate profits, you give some to the shareholders, but mostly you reinvest it in the company to make it grow and produce better products and services. That's not changed, and now it's downsize and distribute. The distribute is the stock buybacks. that's being pressured from CEOs and these large investors. So this is what gets you the cash. Now, the impact on workers is not just that they have, work becomes more difficult for them and their wages stagnate or go down, but it actually leads to a lot of job insecurity. And mass layoffs is the flip side of all this inequality, all the money rushing to the top. And this is important to the story of why we don't have Medicare for all. So this is the mass layoff rate. These are 50 or more workers lost their jobs at the same time between 1996 and 2012. And these are the key swing states, the formerly blue wall that is flipped to the Republicans. About 20+% of all the working people in that state have experienced a mass layoff. And mass layoffs directly are connected to the decline of the Democratic Party vote. To give you an example, I want to take you to Mingo County, West Virginia, which I found this county because I wanted to see which county in all of Appalachia lost the most coal jobs. In fact, in the whole country lost the most coal jobs. This county of 25,000 people lost 3,000 coal jobs between 1996 and 2020. 3,000 out of 3,300. So what happened to the Democratic Party vote? When they had 3,300 jobs in 1996, Bill Clinton got 70% of the vote. As the jobs started going down, so did the Democratic vote. Al Gore got 60%, still a very healthy amount. Bob Kerrey got 56%. Barack Obama dropped to 42%, and then in 2012 it dropped some more to 28%. Meanwhile, the jobs are hemorrhaging, crashing. Hillary Clinton got 14%, Biden got 14%, Harris got 12%. From 70% to 12%, from 3,300 jobs to 300 jobs in the coal industry. Is this just coal that we're talking about, or is this a more universal problem? Well, it turns out that across the country, as the mass layoff rate goes up, in any given county, the Democratic vote went down. This is true throughout Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Democratic vote goes down in the counties where the mass layoff rate goes up. Where the mass layoff rate goes down, the Democratic Party vote goes up. So job precarity, job insecurity, job loss, directly connected to politics. So my argument to you, or for consideration, is if this job instability, this Wall Street deregulation, these stock buybacks are hemorrhaging Democratic Party votes, it's going to be extremely difficult to ever pass Medicare for all. I would argue that until we do something about job instability, it's going to be very difficult to win what we all should have. I doubt the Republican Party will ever pass anything remotely resembling Medicare for all. So we need to do something about this job instability so that there's some possibility of enough political pressure to deal with achieving Medicare for all. So I want to share with you a proposal that we actually tested in a YouGov survey that has not been released yet. So you're getting a preview that nobody else has seen. We did a YouGov survey to test a proposal that no one has ever heard of before, and we tested it in 4 states: Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. It's a very large YouGov sample of 3,000 respondents. That's a big sample. The polls you see in the press are usually around 1,000. This is 3,000. So, and it's targeted to these 4 states. And here was the proposal. Corporations with more than 500 employees that receive taxpayer funded federal contracts are prohibited from conducting involuntary layoffs of American workers. All layoffs during the life of a taxpayer-funded contract must be voluntary based on employer financial incentives. No one shall be forced to leave. So basically, simply put, if you're taking taxpayer money, you can't lay off taxpayers involuntarily. You have to provide incentives the way you do with white collar employees, corporate executives. You buy them out. Nobody goes unless the package is one that they want to take. If they don't want to take it, they have to stay. Now, how realistic is such an idea with a large corporation? Let me just tell you a quick story. Uh, the Siemens Corporation, uh, which has 400,000 employees across the world, it's a German-based uh, conglomerate, and it had a division called Siemens Energy, which had about 80,000 employees, and they decided to lay off 7,000 workers around the world. They were making compressors for fracking, and they wanted to get out of that business. Okay, more power to them. Uh, 1,700 were laid off in the United States, and 3,000 were scheduled to be laid off in Germany. In the United States, uh, workers were involuntary laid offs that, depending on seniority, they got some severance payments, but all the workers lost their jobs. In Germany, the union involved, IG Metall, has half the seats on the board of directors. And they spent a long time doing presentations and negotiations with the board of directors. And their argument was, we don't want to have any compulsory layoffs. After a year worth of negotiations, Siemens agreed to no compulsory layoffs. They agreed to that proposal, just like zero compulsory layoffs. They'd have to buy workers out, or people would, leave because they were retiring, et cetera. In addition to that, they agreed to keep 6 facilities open that were making the compressors by putting a new product in those facilities. So 6 plants in small towns were going to go down were kept open. In the United States, all the facilities were shut down. No new product was put in by Siemens. So to me, this proved, hey, these large companies are enormously flexible. They can live in a world of no compulsory layoffs. They can put new products in facilities that are being shut down so that communities all over rural, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin don't get see their whole economic way of life disturbed and harmed. So this becomes a plausible proposal. It actually could happen. In my book, I have an interview with one of the union people from Germany, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. I had no idea this is what they did. I thought they would just have better benefits, better retraining, better severance, etc. No, they actually saved everybody's job that wanted to stay there could stay there. Now that's a remarkable proposal. So what do the people of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan think about that proposal? Well, we asked them in the current survey. Very strong support. Well, what about the opposition? Maybe the opposition is even stronger? No, the opposition to this proposal is weak. And by the way, nobody in the survey had ever seen that proposal before. All they saw was what I read to you before. They had never heard of it before. Nobody is pushing this across the country except me right now. And yet the support was incredibly strong. Stone cold, strong support. Okay, now we tested one more thing, which you might find a little bit disturbing. We tested the degree to which the Democratic Party had support. And it turns out, in every case, an independent candidate ran better than a Democrat on any proposals you wanted to put together. The Democrats had a very, very bad brand in these 4 states. And to the point where I wasn't sure it could be resurrected. So we asked another question, which I want you to ponder because it's a little scary. We asked this question: would you support a new organization called the Independent Worker Political Association that would be independent both of the Democrat and Republican parties. It would run and support independent political candidates committed to a platform that included stop big companies that receive tax dollars from laying off workers who pay taxes, guarantee everyone who wants to work has a decent paying job, and if the private sector can't provide it, the government will, raise the minimum wage so every family can lead a decent life, stop drug company price gouging, and put price controls on food cartels. My apologies for not putting Medicare for all in there, but it'd be interesting to see. Next time we do a survey, we'll put that in as well. The point is, this was a proposal that nobody ever heard about in these states. Let's take a look at the support. Pretty high, from 57 to 59% in these 4 states. Well, what about the opposition? Very little opposition. People think this is a good idea. They want an alternative to the Democrats and the Republicans. That may not be the case in the state that you live in, but it's a case in the key swing states of the Midwest. They want something new. And the question becomes then that I'm facing now is, how is it possible to build this? It's no longer a question of whether it should be built. It has to be built. It doesn't have to run national candidates. Matter of fact, the best way this could get going would be to support independent candidates in locations where the Republicans are a shoo-in virtually. This is what happened this was tried in Nebraska, where Dan Osborne, a local labor leader, ran for Senate. The Democrats didn't even run anybody because it was a lost cause. He ran 15 points ahead of Kamala Harris compared to her presidential run. He ran like 20,000 votes better than she did in his senatorial run. He lost by 6%, 7%. So it's going to take about 10 years to do this. But if we want to get Medicare for all, we're going to need a new political instrument. And that's the message that I want to share with you. I wish I could take questions. I wish I was there live so you could debate this and argue with me about whether it's necessary. But my argument is the Democratic brand for working people in key states, I believe, is a lost cause. It's time to build something new. And I hope all of us who care so deeply about Medicare for all will think about this and maybe work on it over the next decade. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish you all the best at the conference. Be well.